Let's open the book on this. Today in Portland, a women's residential treatment center shuts down permanently after an abrupt pause that left nearly 50 clients discharged in a hurry.
Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett in Portland, Oregon.
Leah here, keeping it real and keeping it local.
And Garrett here. Let's dive right in.
First up, Portland's Women's Residential Treatment Center, run by Volunteers of America Oregon, is closing permanently. Volunteers of America Oregon is a nonprofit that provides social and health services. Earlier this month, the center abruptly discharged nearly 50 patients. Complaints then landed with the Oregon Health Authority, or OHA, which is the state's health regulator. The organization says mounting operational costs and big infrastructure needs at the site made reopening a no-go. Infrastructure upgrades here mean the building's core systems, like plumbing, electrical, and fire safety, and those were estimated at $4 to $8 million. Quick timeline: in 2021, VOA Oregon bought a building on Eniglasan next to Jessup University's Multnomah campus. Jessup University, a private Christian institution, closed that campus in 2024, leaving VOA with more of the upkeep to shoulder. April 3rd this year, employees were told of a pause. April 10th, OHA did a site visit. April 16th, staff layoffs. And on April 17th, the permanent closure was announced.
Honestly, the abrupt discharges are the part that hits hardest. When people with complex clinical or even legal needs are moved out fast, without a managed transition, it can be unsafe. Managed transition just means a careful handoff to new care, with meds, records, housing, the works. I get that money pressures were huge, but that process should never be an afterthought. I mean, asking staff to fill out discharge forms if a client refused to sign, that's something that, at minimum, deserves serious scrutiny. On the dollars, $4 to $8 million in building upgrades is a massive lift for a nonprofit, but still, that price tag becoming the deciding factor after relocating and investing time in staff makes me wonder whether there were off-ramps or contingency plans earlier. This whole thing spotlights how tight the margins are for organizations doing essential healthcare work.
Why did it get so abrupt, though? If employees knew on April 3rd about a pause, what actually pushed it from pause to permanent close in 2 weeks? VOA initially pointed to concerns around medication management and safety protocols, but that explanation has been disputed. OHA got complaints about how discharges were handled. Meanwhile, the wider impact is immediate: fewer substance use treatment beds for women and families in our region. That's a real gap in the system.
It could simply be that when they opened the hood, the finances and the building's condition didn't pencil out anymore. Pencil out just means the math didn't work. If you're sinking millions into fire sprinklers, electrical, maybe seismic considerations, that's money not going to staffing and services. But I'll say it again, cost pressures shouldn't translate to people being rushed out. That's the part that, really doesn't sit right.
Let's keep this going. Environmental advocates just challenged the city's findings on Zenith Energy. Zenith is the company handling fossil fuel storage and transport in Northwest Portland. The city hired Cable Houston, which is a Portland law firm, to help investigate whether Zenith complied with its franchise agreement. A franchise agreement is basically the city's contract that lets a company use public rights-of-way, meaning public land corridors like streets for pipelines or related infrastructure. In February, the city said Zenith was in compliance. Advocates hand-delivered a letter to Mayor Keith Wilson, rejecting that conclusion as too narrow. Their argument: the investigation stuck to the letter of the contract and skipped a fuller look at environmental impacts or broader regulatory issues. And here's a number that jumps out. Zenith reportedly violated its agreement on transporting fossil fuels at least 3 times in the past. So even with a compliance finding, the history of violations keeps pressure on the city to take a wider view. Balancing economic logistics with climate and safety concerns, that's the tightrope here.
Why would the city look at it that narrowly, though?
Because compliance reviews often live inside the 4 corners of a contract. In plain terms, investigators check whether the company met the exact items spelled out in that document. That's efficient legally, but it can miss bigger picture risks like cumulative emissions or neighborhood health impacts. That's the core tension environmental groups are calling out.
All right, let's roll on. The Oregon Government Ethics Commission, or OGEC, dismissed complaints against 5 Portland city councilors tied to free legal representation. The allegation was that accepting pro bono legal help could be a prohibited gift. OGEC said the councilors followed the law by setting up a legal expense trust fund. That's a specific account, allowed by state rules, to collect funds or services for legal costs related to public service with transparency requirements. Timeline quick hits. An August 2025 retreat by progressive counselors led to a separate public meetings complaint. Then in December 2025, Veronica Gallegos Lozano filed the ethics complaint about the legal services. On April 10, 2026, OEC dismissed it. To me, that affirms due process. Follow the procedure, and you're within bounds. But optics still matter. The legal firm's past lawsuits against the city raise questions about conflicts of interest, even if the ethics boxes were checked.
So why is this tricky for people to parse? Because what's legal and what feels right can diverge. Legally compliant doesn't always equal public confidence, and when the issue is the integrity of local democracy, even a clean bill of ethics can leave folks wanting clearer boundaries. Next up, should public money help refurbish the Moda Center? The state approved a $365 million package for renovations, and with possible local contributions, total public support could top $600 million. Tom Dundon, the new majority owner of the Trailblazers, is part of this picture. Some city councilors, including Tiffany Koyama Lane, are saying, slow down. They're pushing for more transparency and a clearer community benefit plan. And remember, economists often debate whether arenas deliver real, broad-based economic wins. Public-private partnership here means government teaming with a private team owner to fund and deliver a project. Sounds tidy, but the details drive everything. If budgets are tight for essential services, any 9-figure deal needs a sunlight test. At the same time, keeping the Blazers in Portland matters for identity, jobs, and pride. The NBA's potential expansion to Seattle and Las Vegas also shifts market dynamics, which adds urgency, but shouldn't erase oversight.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm down for keeping the team here, for sure, but I'm also with the folks asking for clearer math and timelines. If there's a case that this investment returns value, lay it out simply. Community benefits, small business opportunities, transit upgrades, show the work, you know?
All right, on to the next. The Lloyd Center Mall will close on August 8, 2026. Owners Urban Renaissance Group are moving ahead with a redevelopment that spans roughly 1.2 million square feet, close to 20 city blocks. The plan includes thousands of housing units, 6 acres of open space, and better neighborhood connections. There are appeals in the pipeline, with a city council hearing set for June 24. Tenants have until August 31st to fully move out.
I've got a soft spot for that space. Pop-up markets, the Food Court 5000 walking group. Those quirky community moments were peak Portland. But I'm optimistic. If the redesign stitches the grid back together with parks, housing, and safer walking routes, that's a big urban win. Turning a fading retail giant into a mixed-use neighborhood is like the playbook cities are running nationwide. Done right, it could be a fresh heartbeat for the East Side.
Totally. The key is keeping space for community life in the mix. Markets, arts, and places where neighbors cross paths. If those 6 acres of open space feel welcoming and lively, it'll honor what folks loved about the old mall in a new way.
And that's a wrap for this one.
Leah and Garrett signing off from Laid Back Local, the news of the day, with Leah and Garrett in Portland, Oregon. Have a great day, and tune in tomorrow.